Welcome to the Cruise Retreat Podcast. Hi, I'm Rita Perez, and I'm a travel advisor specializing in, you guessed it, cruise ship retreats. This podcast is for service-based entrepreneurs and corporate decision makers to learn more about staying everyone's favorite company with a cruise ship retreat. Ready to increase your client or employee retention? Listen in on this week's show. Hello, podcast listeners. Thank you so much for being here. Huge apologies that I am a day late putting this episode out, and that really is because I have had a whirlwind of the past 3 weeks. I was traveling in Europe on another amazing river cruise to the Rhone River with one of my favorite suppliers, AMA Waterways. Did a little bit of Colors of Provence with Christmas markets down that way on the southeast of France. And then I experienced the incredible Virgin Voyages for the first time with my mom right before Christmas. We had a fabulous time. And then, of course, we came back on Christmas Eve, visited some family, then visited some other family on Christmas Day. And I just needed an extra day to decompress and kind of take everything in before I really got my brain fully functioning and ready to go back into business. And just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I cannot believe that this is the last podcast episode of the year one. Holy cannoli. Like, when I look back at the end of last year, all my wishes, hopes, dreams, desires, and see how much I have accomplished in 2021, I don't think I would have ever believed you. I don't think that 2020 Rita would have believed 2021 Rita if they were talking together and converging on all the things that have changed. Super amazing, great relationships came into my life in 2021. Not even just at the beginning, but just throughout 2021, so many amazing human beings that I have come in contact to, both on a personal level and even more so on a business level. I am just so incredibly blessed. I would say the two biggest transitions that happened this year, the most major personal transition was that my grandmother passed away in June. And I would never have expected that either. And I really haven't had too much time to process or reflect on it. But despite the hurt that it brings up thinking about it, I know that she is in a better place, and my grandmother was an extremely religious person, and I know everything that she did when she was down here on earth, on land, was so that she could get to heaven and be with her Lord God, Jesus Savior. And I know that she is so extremely content and happy where she is right now. And that's what helps kind of dissipate whatever sadness I may be feeling for her lack here. So that is the biggest personal change that has happened in my life. The other big change that happened in my life that was professional, but obviously affected my personal life as well, was that I finally said no. I resigned from a position that was holding me back in so many ways, working with the corporation that I was working with. I said no to them and yes to me, and I cut the ties, and the dream life that I have always wanted to live, of being in a life of yes, really has come to fruition since that has happened. And I'm not saying everything is all sunshine and rainbows, but so many amazing things have happened in my life because I said yes to me, and I said yes to going all in this amazing travel business that I have. And that has given me so many opportunities, like the 6 cruises I have sailed on in the past 6 months. I cannot even believe that I'm saying that out loud because I I wouldn't have believed that that was my life, that I have been so incredibly privileged to have been presented these different opportunities. 4 ocean cruises, 2 river cruises. I went to Europe twice this year. How crazy is that? So crazy, crazy good. And I know we're dealing with a whole other variant right now, and I know many people are so super scared and nervous, and I'm not trying to downplay that at all. I really just want to bring the awareness of how flippin' amazing the cruise lines are doing at trying to make sure that everybody stays safe while they're sailing. And that's not to say you will definitely not catch anything while you're cruising, but cruising is not the evil that is being described in the media right now. And it it's not synonymous that going on a cruise ship will make you catch something. You can catch this wherever, and for a variant that is so extremely contagious right now, it's just not reasonable. It's just not logical right now to blame the cruise lines for everything. And I am going to include a link in the bio from the amazing Morgan of the Very Unofficial Travel Guys, who just recently posted up a YouTube video of how he caught the vid, or his partner caught the vid while they were at a theme park here in Orlando, Florida. And they had been on over 10 international cruises and never caught anything until they came over here. And that has a lot to do with all the protocols that happen on a cruise ship versus when you go to a theme park or a hotel stateside. So some of you may know this, some of you may not. I just want to do a quick run through of the different things. So when you get on a cruise ship now, you are asked to provide proof of your vaccination. They don't do that when you go into any store landside. They don't do that when you go into the theme parks. They don't do that when you check into our hotel, but they do that when you board a cruise ship. They also don't ask you for proof of negative COVID test on these landside vacations, but they do when you go on a cruise ship. They are also not limiting capacity. Cruise ships are still very much limiting capacity. The last ships I was on, I would say, was about 60% full and 30% full, respectively. On top of that, there are so many stringent protocols that happen on board. Like, I would say, if you were going to be in a hotel and maybe weren't feeling well, they're probably not going to provide you with any sort of testing to make sure that you're okay or not. They're probably going to send you over to an urgent care, whereas the cruise ships have these facilities readily available on board, have even made it even more robust, their medical facilities on board. And for ships like on the river cruise lines, which obviously there's no capacity for that, but they do have tests on board that you can take if something were to happen and you just wanted to be sure. And then they also have relationships with testing centers that are close by to the ship, in very close proximity. Also, they will provide testing if you need to go home and provide that testing. Now, I'm not saying it's complimentary, but they give you that opportunity so that you don't have to scramble to find testing and all that. On top of that, sanitation is so huge and critical on board. Like, they are constantly wiping down, sanitizing, spraying this and that is just not happening when you go to hotels and theme parks here landside. So when people want to really vilify the industry that I love, that is probably the most cautious out of all the different hospitality sectors right now in the industry, I stand by that cruise ships are the safest form of travel. I also stand by that you can't just do one thing to make sure that you are safe, if that is of concern to you, because I know some people are concerned, some people are not. If you do err more on the side of caution, you can't just do one thing. One thing is no longer working, especially with a variant that is so contagious. And so, if you're wanting to keep safe, you need to be doing a multitude of things. Get your vaccine, get boosted, make sure that you're constantly testing yourself, distance yourself from other people, stay in a pod, stay in a bubble. Make sure that you're bringing whatever you need to help boost your immune system, and make sure that those are kept close by you so that you have easy access to them and are able to just help keep your body healthy while you are sailing wherever you're sailing to. I cannot stress that enough. And then I know there's some concerns of people being stranded on board, but that also cannot be further from the truth, because if anything was going to happen, and I have two different unique perspectives, because I have sailed on a river product and I have sailed on an ocean product, where both, if you happen to find yourself in a positive situation, you are isolated in a different cabin. And so pretty much you're quarantined on a different cabin. If you're on an ocean ship, that means you're quarantined for the duration of your cruise or until you start testing negative. On a river ship, that means that once we're able to get to the next port, the cruise manager helps assist with making the arrangements for you to find a hotel and get lodging until, again, you test negative and are able to fly back home to the States. Now, and I don't want to say like, oh, it's just easy peasy 1, 2, 3, because it can be very challenging. And again, I think this is what the benefit of working with the cruise lines is, because there's more support when you cruise versus going it on your own. And I think you need to have extreme flexibility when it comes to make any travel plans, if you do make the very personal decision to travel anytime soon. And this new variant, while it may seem a little bit scary to me personally, it's not hindering myself. And I know in a couple weeks I'll be back on more ships. I just know I have to take increased measures to make sure that I stay safe for myself and safe for the very few people that I do spend a lot of time with. And I guess I will end that rant there, but I wanted to educate you on the reality of things that the media really isn't putting out there. They're just saying, oh my gosh, it's so scary, you get COVID. It is not the worst thing that is out there. And I will say, I have skirted being testing for positive, but I have been exposed to COVID on a cruise ship. And the people that were affected got the best service. And I'm not like going to go into details or anything, but they were treated so humanely, so fair. Like, people had actual care about how they were doing and were very concerned for their well-being and made sure that they were taken care of. It's not just this like, ooh, now we're gonna stay away from you. No, there were actual human beings that cared for you. And I think that's part of the attitude that you need to take when you are traveling overseas. And that's also part of the people that you work with, like your travel advisor. Also the suppliers that you choose, because not everyone is going to be taking that extreme caution and that extreme care. And again, this also kind of reverts back to why you do work with a travel advisor. So you you work with suppliers who are vetted through that travel advisor that they trust, to make sure you're going to have an amazing experience, even if you don't have the most perfect outcome. So I know that was a little long-winded, but I wanted to get a more well-rounded story going out there in front of you. Kind of looking into 2022, I just feel, COVID is starting to be a part of us, and not something that I would have, like, if you looked back 2 years. 2 years, can you believe it? We've been dealing with this for 2 years now, and I just think with every wave and everything that happens, we get stronger. And I'm not talking about like health or anything. I'm just saying that us as human beings get stronger. Like, we know this is not the 2 years ago where we didn't have things to fight this nastiness. There are so many tools that we have, and even more tools coming into the market to combat this thing. We're so much more educated. We know better what to do now, and I think a lot of people, we kind of know the drill. It's not something new, and unfortunately this is going to be something that we live with for the rest of our lives. And how we deal with that is really going to determine how 2022 goes. And I'm just of the mind, like, I need to live my life and I don't want to be scared anymore, but I'm also not going to be stupid and just like, woo, like going out for spring break. And not meaning that you can't go out for spring break, but it's not like a party free for all. I'm going to be taking the appropriate amount of precautions that I need to do to make sure that I stay safe, the people that I'm with stay safe, people that I'm around stay safe. And I think that's just what we need to be doing moving forward. It's going to become something as common and as not scary as a flu or as any other germy thing that is annual, like the colds that we have, or maybe even like, oh, I got the stomach bug or whatever. It's eventually going to become that thing and not the scary thing that is always... It is always being portrayed right now in the media, and I cannot wait for the day when we're like, oh yeah, COVID, haha, whatever. It will come, and I'm not saying that to be insensitive, like, please don't get me wrong, but there's going to come a time that will come, and I'm just very excited with all the tools that we have in our tool belt that we have to combat this thing. So I am so incredibly hopeful. I know that everybody wants to get out there, everybody wants to get exploring, and everybody wants to do so safely and protected. And us as travel advisors are becoming stronger and more resilient. Travelers like yourselves are becoming that as well. And when I think specifically to the groups that I work with, both on the corporate team side and on the client community side, I feel so strongly that on all facets, a cruise vacation really is going to be the best way to put any program together, because again, everything is so inclusive in the cruise environment, and there is so much support with the different vendors that I do work with, as opposed to hotel, landside. Even if you're just doing a small event, I know a lot of people are doing Airbnbs now, but I also feel like if you're doing something like that independently, you hold yourself up to so much more liability than you would if you work with a trusted travel advisor and if you work with a trusted cruise line supplier as well. So just so much confidence, so much hope. I really feel like the Roaring 20s is about to start again here with 2022. And I just cannot wait. I guess I haven't selected really a word of the year. You know, I've selected maybe a theme of working smarter, not harder, and working less, and having more fun in what I do, and making sure that you guys are having fun in what you do with your people, whoever it is you serve, your teams, your clients, your communities. And I am just looking forward to increasing my relationships with you and showing all the different possibilities that are available on the amazing cruise products that we have around the world, so that you can travel around the world, get your communities finally offline and in person through world travel in 2022 and beyond. So until next week, Happy New Year, be safe, do the right things, be smart, and have an amazing time ringing in this 2022. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining me on the Cruise Retreat podcast. Please subscribe and leave the show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.